welcome back. So excited to be back in studio with you today. Man, we've got some really cool things to talk about today, really, that all revolves around the current economy and what we've got going on. I mean, it's a crazy time, right, Peter?
It is, and it'd be unfair for us to not over talk about it. And what I mean by that is, there's some people that I've been watching, they kind of gloss over what's taking place. Some people refuse to acknowledge it. I mean, let's face it, we are in pretty turbulent times. Mm-hmm. And this is affecting the real estate business. For those people that say, well, this affects the real estate business, none, that's just not true. And I'll be honest with you, Julie, I think it's affecting it, both on the good and the bad side. Mm-hmm. But it's like anything else. Whether you're in good times, you're in bad times, or you're somewhere in between, the keys, you just got to know how to navigate it. Mm-hmm. You have to know exactly what's taking place right now. You have to know exactly what's going on in the economy. Most importantly, you have to understand how to correctly respond to it. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I always tell people, there's two sides of real estate. I don't care what economy you're in, there's two sides of real estate. There's the buy side and the sell side. So why don't we do this? Why don't we just kind of give our thoughts and opinions and how it's affecting both sides? Let's start on the buy side. What's your opinion? How the world we're in right now? How are we being affected on the buy side?
Well, too. I mean, I would like to add, like we're talking about the buy side, is popular opinion, right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference between like what I think that the population believe and what's actually truly going on. So right now, on the buy side, we're seeing properties sit on the market longer, right? We're seeing prices going down, not going up. So you're not getting tons of people to bid on one property way above asking price. I think it's important to know that because we were there. But on the buy side, where I think you have to be very, very careful is that, especially like if you're doing a fix and flip, right? You need to know if you're doing a fix and flip, you've got to know how long things stay on the market. You've got to have the right price. So my biggest suggestion on the buy side is make sure you're buying properties right, okay? Now, it's a weird point right now, though, because, motivated sellers maybe aren't as motivated as they should be yet. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like because of like their opinion of the way that the market is.
Yep.
Like I just got a text from Glenn, or no, I saw it on our Facebook group, and he made offers to the seller, and they still think right there in Tampa the market's super hot, right? But the reality is that's not the reality, right?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because you're absolutely right. Reality has not caught up with reality yet, right?
No,
And so I think from what I'm seeing, Julie, from what I'm hearing other people talk to, part of the conversations I'm at, and what I'm seeing is taking place, you're right. I actually thought that the motivation with the sellers would happen a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
From a perspective of price reductions. But just today, I was talking to a couple of our partners, and that seems to be the sentiment, that a lot of sellers are, I'm not talking about they're like in 6-year grow markets. They're just like in a 5, 6, 7 month ago markets, because that's really how quickly things are changing. So I think on the buy side, but then let's flip it around. The realities that's coming. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's like people that close their eyes and think foreclosure is not going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you can only close your eyes to reality for so long, right? You can only hope and pray and meditate that the foreclosure will happen. But when that day of reckoning comes, that bank is taking over your property.
Exactly. And, and I kind of want to go back a few years. So we've been working pre-foreclosures really hard the last couple of years. But and I want to mention this, people may have a different opinion of me. But whenever sellers, right, like last year when we had the moratoriums and we had all that, sellers made agreements with banks that, hey, I can't make these payments right now, so I'm going to put them to the end of the loan. I'm going to incur interest. I'm going to incur fees. My payments may change in the future because I'm asking for help right now.
Right.
Well, I believe the government, maybe whatever, looked at this as, hey, we're helping people. Which now, I don't know that was a big help for people because people can't afford this stuff. It's not like they're not paying. They're still paying. Right. You can never not pay and it just be forgiven. So what that caused now is a lot of these people that did those loan mods are not able to afford the payments.
That's exactly right.
Right? Like I was just talking to a seller a couple days ago, and her husband are both on disability, right? So which means they have a set income. You know what I mean? That they can only make so much. Well, their house payments used to be $1,200 a month. Well, that was enough for them to pay their house and the bills that they had. But because she did this loan modification, do you know how much her payments are now?
More than that.
$1,900 a month. If you are on a fixed income, how can you take a $700 increase every month on your payments? Now, did it occur to her last year or that family last year that, hey, if we do this, it's going to be like this?
Right.
I don't think so. I think like a lot of people, you just raise your hand for success. You're just trying to get day by day by day. And the next thing you know, you're in a situation like she is. And we've heard this over and over and over again. So my opinion why foreclosures are going to be even worse is because honestly, what we did is we just pushed off the inevitable.
Right. That's a good point.
You know, we really just pushed off something saying, we'll deal with this later.
Right.
Meaning the banks.
Right.
And let me tell you, banks never lose. Like, look it up. Tell me a time. I've like literally never seen a time that banks ever lose. Like in the 08, the 09 crash, did the banks lose then?
Not ultimately. A couple did, but not ultimately. Ultimately, they came out very solvent, looking great. Balance sheets looking perfect, P&L's looking perfect, and look at them now, more stronger than ever. But that's a good point. I didn't even think about what you just said, but it's so true. You know, I've always said there's two types of new motivated sellers right now. There's the one that's being obviously affected by the economy. Because let's face it, the economy is tanking.
Yeah.
What do we talk about? Largest, 5 or 4 companies in the world announced, what did they announce? Not job cuts, but hiring freezes.
Yep.
Hiring freezes. Elon Musk getting rid of 10% or 15% of his middle management.
And if anybody could afford to keep their management on, it'd be Elon Musk.
It'd be someone like that. So we're here, and these are like the big points. So there is no question in the economy that we're in right now that there's a lot of losses going on. And so that creates motivation. The second motivation that is created right now is, I talk about the second one a lot. I call it kind of the not the reality motivation. It's a lot of people who are looking at the news, looking at the internet, and they're perceived they're in trouble. And they're not even in trouble, but they think they're in trouble, so they fall into they put themselves into this motivated seller. But there's this third one. You're absolutely right. People during the pandemic, they did loan mods, redid things, and now their payments are going to go through the roof. And let's face it, an average person probably in the U.S. that's got a $1,000 mortgage payment, they can't go to $1,700.
No, I mean, $700 to anybody is a significant amount of money. I mean, significantly. Like, how is the average person on a fixed income going to be able to do that? I mean, you're talking about taking away every bit of money they got left over for bills, or even if they're not on a fixed income, that's a huge hike. And unfortunately, I think what happened, or I know what happened, because we're doing deals with it right now, is that pushing off the inevitable, maybe it helped you for like a year, but then now you're just pushing off what's gonna come later. So just like human nature, what do? When we're in a terrible situation? And for those of you that might be facing foreclosure, I suggest that you find a local investor maybe to work with, even if you are close to owing what your property is worth right now, because there are strategies that can be used to stop a foreclosure. And why is that important, Pete? A foreclosure's on your record for 7 years, like literally on your credit report. So anytime you go to rent something, anytime you go to get a credit card, buy a car, they're all going to see it. Yep. And it's like a scarlet letter, like literally on them that everybody's going to know about. So if you can avoid foreclosure, you want to do so.
At any cost.
At any cost.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think we both agree that on the seller side, there's going to be opportunities. There's going to be opportunities for us as investors to make a lot more purchases than we were making. And there's going to be opportunities for us as investors to help people, whether it's out of a pre-foreclosure, whether it's out of a payment they can't afford, whether it's a motivation that was created by outside factors. So we as investors on the buy side are obviously going into some incredible, unprecedented times, and we're excited to be part of it. Now let's talk about on the other side, the seller side. How, I'll go first this time. So as an investor on the seller side, we also have to make some adjustments. Now, on the seller side, they're not as positive adjustments as they are on the buyer side. But there, I do actually see some positive things taking place there. So here's the biggest thing on the seller side we have to make adjustments for. You actually brought it up on the buyer side, but it's both. We have to make adjustments by how long something's going to sit in the market. You know, let's face it. You know, it's funny. I was talking to one of our partners last week, and he made this comment. He's like, Pete, you know the weird thing about it? I've never been in a bad market. You know, he's one of our partners, been in business for 5 years.
Yeah,
so he doesn't understand. Like, it used to be that it's okay to sit in the market for 3 to 4 months, right? That used to be the norm. But everybody got spoiled in the last couple of years by things just literally flying off the shelves. People, you know, offers, 20 offers on one properties above asking price. The reality of this, and this is how I'm playing it. We're kind of getting into the normal market, where things do sit in the market 3, 4, 5, 6 months. But you have to make an adjustment for that. You have to make an adjustment on that on the carrying costs. Obviously, you have to make an adjustment on that on the buyers, on when you're buying properties. You know the other place you have to make an adjustment on that, Julie? On the mental side.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because, like, and you know, like, you deal with this a lot more than I do. But having these payments, having the next one come in the next month, having the power bill come on, the power bill come, having the insurance bill being due, it's going to be a little bit more stressful for the flippers out there. And also, I think it's really important, like, if you don't listen to, like, anything we've said today, if you are flipping houses, you better be careful with those tight deals. Like, we could got away with tight deals, meaning profit margins months ago.
Not now.
Not now. So be very, very careful on your purchases, because, like, to me, the deal's made on the buy side anyway, right? So if you're not buying it right, you're going to be caught in something you do not want to be caught with, which is going upside down on a flip financially.
No question. You know, the other thing, obviously, this goes along with everything we've been talking about. The other thing is you have to be ready to do price reductions. Whereas, again, just a little bit before, just several months back, price reductions was like a foreign language word. Like, what? Price reduction? I don't get it. I'm not reducing price. If anything, I want above asking. But you have to get not only comfortable with sitting on the property for longer, but you have to be comfortable with having to do price drops, which again ties this back to the seller side, the buyer side. You have to, whereas before we might be able to buy something for $100,000, we may have to only be able to buy it for $90,000, maybe even $80,000.
I mean, and on that note too, talking about you better be ready to do price reductions, I suggest that you don't overprice that house.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, like, you think, okay, to make more money, I'm going to list it at a higher amount. In a regular real estate market, you can't play that game. Because do you know what it tells the other agents and sellers? That they're not serious about selling the house.
That's exactly right.
Somebody overprices it. So what you're going to lose is you're going to lose that first initial couple weeks of, I don't even know what that, momentum, right?
Absolutely.
So when you overprice the property out of the range because you're trying to make more money, right? It's not a good idea right now. Because all you're doing is you're telling buyers, I am not serious about selling this house. I am not willing to do a deal with you. So they're literally going to pass it over. And those first 2 weeks of it going on the market, I think, are crucial.
Of course. Top of the list, the newest, all that kind of stuff. But I want to finish off on we've obviously talked about a lot of positive things on the buyer side. More motivation means more opportunities. On the seller side, we've kind of been like, you got to sit in it longer, you have to do price reductions, all that kind of stuff. But I want to end on a very positive news for us as investors, why you and I both are very bullish on the market. The reality of this is this. Just like a lot of sellers are scared and motivated, so are a lot of investors are scared. And what that does is it clears out the playing field for people who are not scared, for people who realize it's just an adjustment time, it's not a get-out time.
No, it's not like business is over. You just got to make some adjustments.
That's all it is. But a lot of people, you and I both know, will refuse to make adjustments. A lot of people, way of handling adjustments is to put their, head in the sand, get out, stop, and all this. And so the reality of the situation is, if you're a real estate investor, be ready for less competition. More opportunities on the buy side, less competition on this side. We're seeing it already. I was just talking to some of the largest hedge funds, Julie, that out there, billion dollar hedge funds. And do you know some of them haven't made a loan in like a month or two? Why? Because there's less investors in the game now. And if there's less investors in the game and there's more opportunities, and if you combine the two and make the right adjustments, then I can tell you right now, from our perspective, there's never been a better time to be in the real estate investing business than right now.
Absolutely. And on top of that, if you're new, I really suggest that you get a mentor that understands these things, right?
Buys into it.
That is not just all roses and rainbows, right? That's it's real, because you can lose really big if you don't make the right choices. So my suggestion to them is hire somebody that knows what they're doing.
Be smart.
Yep.
Be smart.